You know, and then the academic fees, and this used to be over copy paper. Mr. Forwell, because the academic teachers use too much copy paper. And now it was $25, now it's $50. That's a lot of money for a lot of kids.
You did point out that it was, when Jean left, it was $25.50. They did change it this spring when she had retired in January. They changed it that spring, because I didn't lie to you, it's never changed since I've been.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it hasn't.
It's been $50 for 13 years.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I guess that's what you, back at our home districts, if we had these types of fees, we would have some sort of foundation or something to help alleviate these costs. If it's athletics, I know at Buckeye, everybody's doing fundraising to keep their athletics. And I've often found that if you hire a football coach, 200 people show up at the meeting. You don't hire a doctor of chemistry, nobody's there. And so these are academic costs. Maybe we need to take a look at how we can do something to alleviate some of these costs for our kids to help it on these basis. Maybe have a foundation, and do a ball outing, something like that.
Well, I guess with the total cost of this and with the money, and please forgive me, Aaron, but with the money that we have millions and millions and millions of dollars sitting in investment accounts. Can't some of that be redirected towards?
If there's a student that can't pay, the high school team sits down and collaboratively gets together and determines how many, and it's anywhere between 25 and 30 that get their fees waived.
Okay.
Is there a way that some of these classes, like law enforcement, as an example, if you're going to 700, you're going to choose 200?
They can make payment plans across the over 2 years. They can make payment plans until the very last day.
Trust me, whenever the students in need fund doesn't pay for it, and we still have students that have outstanding fees, we have no leverage, we have none. Our leverage is to contact your school districts and say, can you hold their diploma? And half the time, they don't even want to do that because it's not their problem. I write off a lot each year in fees, outstanding fees.
Oh, really?
So these kids aren't, not everyone's paying
Okay.
that they should. But I think we still have to make the attempt to collect. But once it gets to a certain threshold, I'm just like.
Send it into collections.
Right.
Okay, okay. I'm glad I brought that up
Yeah,
because
they
I had
do.
no idea.
And each year, the auditor sees that list, whether it's from high school students or adult ed. Typically, we don't have any issues with adult ed now because we do send that to collections.
Okay.
And the Attorney General's office does collections for us, for adult ed students. But the high school, we can't send it to the Attorney General's office, and I don't have the manpower to chase all the kids. So it's just a matter of, it is what it is. We make every attempt, we send letters, all the way up through spring, all the way up to graduation, but then after that point, it's.
I can also say I've never seen a kid not get participated in the senior awards for lack of fees. I've never seen it.
Right.
And then these are individual fees, so when you add everything up, what's the yearly cost of all the fees? For the entire building, how much is that?
Is that 13,000? No.
13,000 would be if you have one student in every single class.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You got 1,000 kids here, you got dollars.
135, 140,000 every day.
That would be in the $1 surplus or
But also, like legality, I don't know that you can use general fund money for uniforms and things that are any.
No, you
tool
can't.
kits, house kits.
Yeah, uniform and such can't be used out of general fund.
And I will say, I don't know if Steve mentioned it, but historically, the teachers every year, we direct them, go get your quotes for whatever you need next year, get actual quotes. If it's inflation, charge 15% for shipping, whatever it may be. So every year, they actually obtain these 3 quotes at least for these products that they're doing. And then they draft, put together their fees based on it. Now, not necessarily the $50, but program fees, supply fees. The girls in the back, they do the same thing for supplies through Oil, a company that we do a lot of business with, and Ritter, where we get a lot of our supplies. So they do a pretty good job of obtaining quotes, make sure they get the best deal before where they establish or set the fees. So that's a historical practice that we do every year.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Kind of like what the-
They do a really good job.
I think our teachers did a great job this year, only go up 2% in today's economy. I think they did amazing.
If we have any board members who'd like to come forward with a foundation idea, you know, here, some golfers or a table. Yeah. And somebody that knows golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe an outing for pay for these kids. All right, thank you so much. Yes, one more.
Before, and again, I'm glad you mentioned that, the board policy that's under F, what is the purpose of rescinding that? Because I think that policy, relations with parents and parent organizations and basically spelling out the expectations.
How many different
If
ones?
you go to the new board policies, and I gotta get which one it is, give me a second.
I didn't see it underneath there. Am I?
Which order is this?
F, under items for discussion. It is a board policy for relations with.
The short answer is we've already got a policy that speaks specifically to that, so this was a rescission. I'm going to do some research for that.
Yeah, this came out of the committee, whenever that meeting was. And what had happened, this policy was tabled back in the fall. And then it was Rebecca who had requested it was tabled. Well, Rebecca wasn't here, but I had gotten an email from her. She wanted to have a discussion about rescinding it. And again, those that were at the
We have
meeting,
other policies that speak directly to this.
she was talking about the fact that she wondered if it was needed because we don't have a PTO. And I remember Mr. Butts talking in that meeting, and again, I don't know what policy it is. I don't.
We have one that spoke to it. We put it side by
So
side.
she had proposed perhaps it's not necessary. So do you remember what, that came out of the board policy?
Before we do any formal rescind, can we provide that policy that it's a duplicate of, or that it's similar? And it can be done via email.
It's not action.
But it says, it will be on for next month for approval of the rescind.
I'll have a better explanation for next month.
Okay, could you email the board that policy and then the one that you're stating is a mirror image or duplicate so that we
It
can...
speaks to what we needed to.
So that we can step through it. Because, honestly, I think that the expectations that are called out in that policy are awesome because it is the board believes that the education of children is a joint responsibility, one that it shares with the parents. Okay? We're setting the expectations that, hey, yes, we're going to educate your children, but this is a team effort here. We're just going to toss your kids over to our building and expect us to do everything. And that's what I like about this policy is it sets clear expectations.
We'll go back and pull the minutes and figure out why.
Okay? Fair enough.
You okay with that now?
Yeah, because I definitely think it's worthwhile, and I encourage the board members to go in and read this and see the message that it's stating, because I think
We have
it's
time to pull it for the next meeting if we don't want it. We have time.
right, or put it on the meeting to approve, to keep it in place, so, yeah, okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll talk about the things that are action items specific that you need to attend if the voting rounds is just attached. I'm going to do the instruction update here. Gary and I did meet this morning with the construction, with Town Center Construction. We think everything's good to go for this summer. We're down to the finishing touches. We're really just looking at scope, sequence, and permits at this point. We've got finishes done. We've got fire suppression systems done. We've got shop drawings 90% of the way done. So like I said, between three major projects we've got that we talked about earlier and then what we've got going on this summer, this is 60 hours of my week every week right So action items, course of study, is there. Darren Lewis, it is here. I'm skipping B, current B. The out-of-state professional development is so that Janice was able to secure a grant, and that grant pays for the out-of-state travel for Bob Mailing to become certified to teach the propane portion of it. We did also include that into our HVAC drawings today and establish where those propane tanks would be stored. Adult ed tuition, you guys all are aware of that. The ESC contract is there. It's identical to what it was the year previous. Neonet contract for DTS. DTS means District Technology Services. We hired 2 of their tech people to work for us, so that's there. Calendars were there for approval, not so much 23, 24 because that's been approved, but the following years. Career advising plan that we saw, the textbooks, board policies, donations, reclassifications, non-renewals of skipping personnel, contract supplementals, and then that board resolution at the end, 2023 CT resolution, is basically saying that you support me submitting to the state for basically the $3.5 million to go into the building of the construction trade center. So for the ones that are on the consent agenda, I would ask for approval.
So I will need a motion for A, C, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, O, P, Q. We're skipping E, D, and F.
Second that.
Thank you. Questions or comments about those items on the agenda?
Yeah, I have a question. On the adult education salaries, I asked Mr. West to give me salaries from number of years. And I noticed that the current salaries at the higher end are less than they were 10 years ago.
That is accurate. We made, one of our cost savings methods a year or 2 ago, when we negotiated, was we had nobody that was in those higher numbers, but we didn't want anybody to get there at that time either. So we made those go down so that those high numbers wouldn't be there. But now it's probably going to be a good point where we're going to end up moving them back up anyway. That's what happened. It was done during negotiations time. We thought it was a good strategy to keep the prices low for adult ed, keep their cost structure in place, and it didn't impact a single individual. So it was kind of a win-win in our opinion.
Are we getting anyone close currently?
Teachers with that much longevity,
Okay, I was just curious because,
I don't think
that's
so.
probably why we can't get some people to teach courses.
We were doing what we,
I know, I
just to
understand.
avoid cost structure.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm questioning.
Any other questions or comments about B, C, E, F, G, H, J, K, F, P, Q, O, P, Q, R? Again, that's a lot. Anybody?
So all right, so it's A, C, D?
No,
D was full.
default.
D full.
B and M.
Yeah, only 3 were full.
But I had requested that the personnel get broken out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're not approving that yet.
okay. So it's B, D, F, and N. Correct?
No, B, D, yeah.
E, L,
B, D, L.
allows.
I was gonna say,
Any other spins of the wheel? Hey, Al? You?
what's that?
You, what do you think? About the others, we'll go back.
Well, wait, oh, no, I'm good for, yeah, I got it, so.
All right, that being said, may I have what we have a motion?
Yeah, we have a motion.
Yeah, may I have a second? We have a vote, please, roll call.
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Mrs. Page?
Nice.
Mr. Gillingham?
Aye.
Mr. Huska? Mr. Noah? Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Steiger? Mr. Metz?
Aye. All right, B, job description, executive assistant to superintendent.
I asked to have that.
You have a motion to talk about? Okay, motion.
I'll make a motion.
I got a second from Mr. Schneider. Yeah, Jean, we have two, so we talk, discuss it. Okay, go ahead.
There's a couple things, since full-time, I think there needs to be an explanation of the number of days this person works, the number of vacation days, hours in the day, or the hours you're supposed to work, and then the last, on the last page, additional working conditions, number 7, where it says occasional requirement to operate school district vehicles, it should also include the proper training.
You told me that, and it's that.
Yeah. So,
So no other job description has any of that in there. This is a standardized one, but I can tell you that all of them are based on, so let's go, it's 280 days, 8 hours a day, 2,080 hours. And the set vacation days, the way the vacation days works for anybody that gets vacation is the number of years you've been in education would fall in that, so it's not specific to a job posting, it's job specific to how many would be there. And so that would be depending on how many years the individual had. It could be anywhere from 10 to 20. Those items would be in the contract and not in the job description
10 to 20 days?
of vacation.
Right.
And that's exactly like the support staff or.
Okay, I mean,
It's identical.
yeah, okay.
The only ones that operate outside those number of years of experience are Aaron and I, but we would have been at the top of it anyway.
And I know, I would assume that teachers and support staff have in expected hours, what time you're supposed to be there, what time you can basically leave or a day.
There are some that's contracts, yes.
Do you think this should have that to make sure that?
It would be, I agree with Chuck, it would go in the contract and not in the job description.
I also have, board members asking about 27 and 28.
That was a good suggestion by Tina. The word assist there is important. So like if you said, so this individual would not terminate an employee. That's not going to happen. But by assisting would be that they would make sure that the due process took place. They would be like making sure that evaluations were done. They'd be making sure that they checked with the Ohio Revised Code to make sure that these things can take place. So they could assist in any way, but no, they are not going to be the one that actually pulls the trigger on any of that. But they would help with the supporting documentation and making sure that it was legal in the way that you're going about it. So that I agree with her assist words on both of those.
I would rather prefer to provide information to the superintendent on the way I looked at this position, and I like everything about these whole things. It's just not to put that person in a position to hire, fire, renew, non-renew, any of those things. That person's job is to gather all the information, take, whoever that is taking, give you more time to do things like assisting you, giving you the information to make that decision. That's their job. Their job is not to renew, non-renew, hire, fire. Their job is to get the information to give it to you. I don't know if everybody agrees with assist, I can understand that, but I'm saying that if we can stay away from that.
So at 27 and 28, could you deal?
Those are
you
numbers, so I have
provides
questions.
support to.
Yeah, anything provides support, provides information, to the superintendent to make this decision. In all of the other ones, that's the way it seems to be, and I think that's a good way to look at this position, that it's an executive assistant to the superintendent, to give him the opportunity to work on all the things he has to do and provide the information that the HR is simply getting himself.
I have no issues on 26, 27 to say provide support to the superintendent too, and then put those items there. And then I totally agree with Gina as far as when she's saying that operate school equipment with proper training. I see no reason to deny that. She told me about that, and I missed it. And
That's
I
fine.
agree with you 100%.
And then on number 29, conducts or requires background checks and employment eligibility verifications. Does that include it all? And if not, why not?
It's a great question. I think that we should bring it all in one house.
Yeah.
So there are times when she's doing background checks and stuff for the high school. There are, and correct me if I'm wrong, Annette, you're the main person, but Annette does all of the, so if we're audited with fingerprints or whatever, she is the one that's in control of that. So it's her, and I believe Mary, and I believe Annika are only 3 certified to do that, and they all 3 cover for each other. But Annette is the coordinator for all of those. And then she's the one who pulls the reports, and she is the one that, but like in the evening, if they do it like, so I missed, Lou. So in the evening, Lou does all of them for Annette as well. And that may not be just for employment, but they do it for, if they were going to go into law enforcement academy, they get background checks for those as well. So some of the student programs do background checks.
Do we have our own number?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's it located?
Across from the EMIS person in the high school office, the 3rd office back on the left, and those 4 are the only ones that are allowed in there. That machine is not allowed to be touched by our technology department, so even this week it took a crash, and so Mary wasn't allowed to work on it, and they had to go through the tech support through Dell and through it's actually through the Attorney General's office, and once every few years, she can get audited every year, but pretty much once every 3 years they come and look at all of the paperwork. No one's allowed to be in there other than them when they are doing it. So I mean, they're very, very strict about how
Yes,
it's
we
done.
get some reports.
We do.
Meaning,
They come
Annette
directly,
and you?
meaning Annette is the first puller of them. And then if they come directly off, if there's no hit, it used to be, it could be 30 to 60 days. If there's no hits, it could be within 30 seconds.
Okay.
So the machine will print those out. But if it says mail, it could be anywhere from 30 to 90 days because they're doing some more background check on it. And then those get mailed directly to me. And then I make decisions as to whether or not they're disqualifying events.
And I would think that when you hire this position, that's one of the things that position would do.
I would expect.
I would expect that too,
Yeah.
to take it off of your plate and say, here, Mr. Christo, here's.
This person qualifies.
Exactly.
And there is in the manual, there is temporary disqualifiers and there's permanent disqualifiers. Temporary disqualifier would be a drunken disorderly when you were 18 years old. It's like 7 years. Domestic violence, permanent.
So what was the number for the addition of operating equipment? Where was that going to go?
That was on 20,
It was going to be all the way at the bottom.
33.
Operation of school-owned vehicles. So it's the very last thing, number 7. under
Additional
additional.
working?
Occasional requirement to operate school district vehicles with proper training.
It's number 7 under.
And I agree with that.
Additional working conditions.
Yeah, and let's say, for instance, that person was requested to drive a van with students in it. If that person does not meet the criteria, has not done the physical and everything, they're not going to be able to drive a van with students.
So, Mr. President, so that we do this in a proper manner, I would move to amend the motion to approve, to read item 27, provide support for disciplinary matters, disputes, investigations, and assist in termination of employees in accordance with policy. Number 28, provide support for matters related to involving non-renewals of current employees. And then item 7 under working conditions, occasional requirement to operate school district vehicles with proper training. That's my motion.
So
To amend.
we have a motion on the table, and Mr. Stiver would like to amend his motion to include those items that address other board members' concerns. Is it acceptable to you?
We have to have a second.
So you're saying you don't want that?
That's the
Motion
change.
motion to amend the wording.
Robert's rules would require him to do it in that manner.
And then we
That's second.
Okay. we need, I think it's on the table, so Gene, we have a second.
Yeah, so-
Okay, all right, so then we end up, could you please provide that wording to the solicitor, so we can, that's, not now, we at the end of the meeting, you'll let it to us, you wrote it down in your book, I trust you to get the exact word. Okay. And, that laptop I have one BCI FBI machines in my office, and you can't even put anything on it besides what they allow you to put on there, and they do watch, make sure that you pick the right codes, because a lot of people, like, now there's like 100 codes, it used to be 10, now there's 100 possible codes, if you pick the one, the wrong one, like dog catcher, you know, and they're calling you on the phone saying, what are you doing? So they're pretty strict about that.
Somebody get a certified driver's license or something.
No, they have a training class that they put you through.
Well, maybe it sounded like when you had to go to the attorney general's office, or something else, but you had to have like.
The audit's kind of a pain in the butt. We got audited 3 years.
Oh, audit.
Well, we came out clean, but it was a pain.
We're pretty much doing the same licensure, so, it doesn't change much. All right, so we have a motion on the table, 1 and a 2, and we have a change. Any other questions or comments about this job policy, or is that description? Just a job description. Anybody? Any roll call, please?
This is not an amendment.
Mr. Steiger?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mrs. Dane?
Aye.
Mr. Gillingham? Mr. Huska?
Aye.
Mr. Noah?
Aye.
Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Mr. Mattson?
Aye, thank you. And thank you, board members, for these questions and comments about this, because I want to make sure we get it right. Thank you. All right, we're going to go now to B, adult education.
Need to vote on the motion as amended.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need to vote on.
Right.
So you want a roll call on the vote of the amended.
Because that was done.
The motion is amended. So it's still Mr. Schneider and Ms. Richards, so we just need a,
Just go through again.
yes.
All right. Mr. Steiger?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mrs. Dane?
Aye.
Mr. Gillingham?
Aye.
Mr. Huska?
Aye.
Mr. Noah?
Aye.
Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Mr. Mattson?
Aye, thank you so much. Thank you, Chuck, for proper cause.
Very good.
So now we're going to go to D, adult education tuition.
Right, and since I have can I just discuss it?
Well, we need a motion to discuss.
Put it on the second.
Yeah, so
Second.
Mr. Steiger and Mr. Huska will be number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
Now it's open to discuss. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I mean, I like this, but I don't think Wadsworth should be one of the school districts because they're not in, I mean, they have a couple of students now, but they're not part of the,
Consortium.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I don't think they should be, their students should get to do this. I mean, they have their own career center, you know, they're 3 different schools. That's it.
Would you swap out Wadsworth for homeschool? Allow homeschool?
Yeah.
You just have a young man of a series of homeschool.
Yeah.
When you go to homeschool when you're young, and you go to high school when you're older.
And then we are going to run into more and more.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Homeschool's always, homeschool kids are always taught in some of the districts that they're coming here, so they're paying their taxes. So, I like that.
It would be a homeschool over tomorrow.
But so are the Wadsworth.
Of our,
Feeding schools.
yeah, of our feeder schools.
I think the only thing they're saying is we don't accept a tax base for anybody in Wadsworth. But we do get about 12 students a year, give or take a little bit, but those monies do follow those kids, but we don't. The real estate tax, we get nothing. Sales tax would, because it is done across the entire county and then divided by the number of students.
So they're paying sales tax at support of the career center.
Not much.
Wadsworth, resident sales tax.
Well,
Everything they buy, they pay the same
majority of
amount
their
you do.
money is going to go to Wadsworth. I mean, really, it's broken down by how many people are in your school, the sales tax. I mean, I'm sorry, Wadsworth didn't want to be part of the career center. They had an option when this all started back in 70. So I don't really believe that they should be participating in free education. The sales tax amount that they do is a minimal amount of money that we get. It's based on property tax. And their property tax is not going in to support the career center.
So would you feel the same then about Black River? We have students in Moraine and Ashland County, their property taxes go to support
But they're a feeding, they are one of the schools that came in to be part of the Medina County Career Center.
That is that true?
When I say that, okay, so one of the nods to Wadsworth, we have our new state rep that was very supportive of the Career Center, and her base is Wadsworth. And she really went out of the way to make sure that we had work on the fire tower, but not reporting on the superintendent, something I can tell about it. Yeah, pushing for the money for the construction trades. So that's not, if she's okay with us, she didn't ask for this. It just was a nod to Wadsworth because the person from Wadsworth is very helpful to the Career Center had. He's been here, seen some raises in the Career Center. It was all about what the Career Center can do in Medina County. Maybe more so than singing the praises of what they do over in Wadsworth. And of course, in the town. So that might be a slight nod to appreciation for that side of the county helping us do some of the things we want to do. But it's not valuable that she's actually, Ms. Christmas says that she's like, okay, you don't have it. So,
The question I have is I know they pay just a little bit from the sales tax, but how many students are we talking about that it costs? I mean, what's the cost that we have to, you know what I mean, for the students?
How many we would absorb for adult ed, or how many would be in high school?
Adult ed, because that's, I
I don't know.
I mean,
I think
You open it up for free for Wadsworth.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say, once you open it up for free, right?
It's no money.
You're gonna give-
It might be an apple to a vegetable.
So can we do this, like, kind of split this some way? We have empty seats in the room for our theater schools first, and they get first choice. And if we have openings, I mean, ultimately, our goal is to teach kids and get them career educated. If we have room in the class, like HVAC's got 2 seats, and also we have a kid from Wadsworth that wants to come, and there's 2 seats sitting there empty, it's not gonna cost us anything to allow him, other than goodwill, and give him some training to be a productive member of Medina County.
Maybe right underneath that in italics or something, you add that statement, active.
What we use as high school's prior, not I didn't mind to interrupt, that's rude. I was just thinking, the high school admissions level we call priority status for some groups.
Priority status will be given to those district students.
Our theaters, our whole teachers.
Tutors, yeah. Would you be okay with that?
Would you do that?
Then you'd be open to
I'm sorry,
other
Sharon,
No,
contiguous
Medina County
schools.
only, right now, so it's Medina County. I haven't even thought about that far out. No, yeah.
I would not.
No, I'm thinking Medina County only.
No, I know, I
Yeah.
wouldn't think so, but
But if we have an empty seat at the table, you know, we welcome everybody to our table, if we have a seat. But would that satisfy your
Well,
concerns?
here's a question. If I'm a kid that goes to the Christian Academy and I don't come here, can I come here to this?
I think you would if you live in Medina City. Now, if you live in Strongsville and you go to the Christian Academy in Medina, you're a strong, kind of County resident. I'm thinking in terms of living in Brunswick, Buckeye, Black River, and you go to St. Ambrose.
What if I go to Padua and I live in Medina?
You're a Medina resident, you pay taxes here.
So,
No, I would see it the same as being homeschooled. For me personally, they pay as much taxes. They actually are paying more because they're paying tuition on top of it.
so with the Career Center for Wadsworth, is that Wadsworth High School?
It's a good question. They're part of what's called the Four Cities Compact, so it is Norton, Copley, Wadsworth, Norton, Copley, and Barberton. I always miss one, and the one varies. So your Barberton, you'll take all the health sciences, you'll take all the transportation,
Okay.
you'll take, and then they rotate between the 4. But they are not a standalone district. Andy Hill is the superintendent of Wadsworth, and he is also the superintendent of the Four Cities Compact.
So if you're a Wadsworth student, and you go to their Career Center, and then you have a desire to do adult education, I'm going to go up here and go for free.
Only if we have a seat available at the table. It doesn't cost us any tax dollars.
Well,
I mean, that's, we started it as just automatically open. We've had some conversation now that maybe we need to have some restrictions on that. So, Yeah, we've been pretty passionate when we talked about this last month. What do you
Yeah,
think?
well, one of my things is like with, you know, the empty seat, it's not gonna cost us anything, but they also, that student may bring something to the table. They may not, they may be well versed in something that they can share with the class. They are paying a minimum amount of the sales tax that they are paying. When they come to any of our local schools, for sports or any band or anything else, their fans come in droves, and so that really boosts the boosters. So I'm in favor of the open chair, and definitely, like I say, many ideas, you know, a great idea from many, and the contributing of it all. I just think that the open chair policy, that would be very nice, because one, that they're our neighbor, two, they can bring a lot to the table, and we can benefit from it. You can't lose, it's not costing us something, and
Well, it costs us something, because we're picking up tuition.
but we have an empty seat, so we're already paying the instructor. We already have the equipment there. We have whatever class that they're taking is already, you know, there. And then any fees that they be associated with the
Yeah,
class.
they're paying their fees, they pay their fees, this is tuition only.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, like, that's what I'm saying, like, any fees that they pay. If they had a uniform, someone, they have to buy that all themselves. It's only the tuition part of it.
Mr. Miller, you've got a life education.
I just think that the Medina County residents, they are paying the sales tax. We have the budget, the open seat one doesn't hurt anybody. I don't see how it could possibly, I don't see how it could possibly affect us. You know, I might even think about letting ball in for free because of that, but I'm not gonna argue that point. But the open seat one seems certainly, you know, I don't want to exclude, especially our state representative or in any way, shape, or form do anything to cause any problems, you know, so I can't see how the open seat one's bad, just personally.
Dr. Gilligan?
I'm okay with it, it's not,
What about,
it's not a big
I
deal.
know you're involved with CM, but what about like the,
So I'm just thinking, we don't have enough paying students for adult ed right now. And, but, I agree with Rich, they do pay taxes here, so I'm sort of split on it, I'm okay either way.
Madam Vice President? Thoughts?
So, I mean, we're supposed to be educating, and that is kind of the key thing here. And I think that by opening it up to Wadsworth, I hear what you're saying, they didn't want a piece of it, now that they can get a piece of it. I think that it's going to benefit the community as a whole, and it's going to drive better community. And so, while, I guess they didn't want it when it was, 1970s. I don't see where it's a problem to.
Most people probably were in the age where they can vote one way or the other.
Okay,
And those people are already gone, and then, we're going by numbers, the children adult ed class, it may be where we need those numbers in order to have class anyway. And they become a law enforcement, or firefighter, or whatever else, they may be the person to save one of our lives.
And I think the more we drive the people here, the more other people will see what it can do. And now we're going to bring people from outside of Medina County, right? So first step is getting it talked about, getting it out there. And the best way to do that is fill seats and have people there saying, this was a great education, and look what I can do now. And so to me, the more we can start building it up, then the bigger it gets.
Some of the programs we talked about in our study meeting was paramedic school. There is not enough seats in the schools. Mr. Clemus goes to
Mr. Cleans goes to Parma and Mike goes to Akron.
so there's only 9 or 10 seats in the program. We've got too many kids for it, so we can do a paramedic program. I think we have a full-time police academy during the day. We're getting kids from young people from outside the county who want to come to the academy here instead of us sending Medina County residents to try to see.
Terry told me they sponsored 2 just this year.
So there's dollars when you come in, and paid students, paid seats is first, but when we have seats at the table, that's what we're going to fill. It's going to be a lot of work for our adult ed director to sort this out.
And if we do acquire that building, the Acme Youth will be even more centrally located to acquire and attract even more to, law enforcement classes. I just don't see how.
I couldn't make this make fiscal sense in my head until I saw that we could potentially occupy that space cheaply.
Sure. That's,
That's the only way for me, this was making me sick to my stomach. I wanted to do it, I didn't know how. The facility space there solves that question for me.
So the answers you gave for that facility with unused equipment, brand new pristine, sheriff's department, fire, I mean, everything that you used that your driver was great. So you really sold the program.
Mr. President, I would move to amend the motion as presented under item 2 to include parochial schools, home schools, alternative, and academy schools.
What about Wadsworth?
Not doing that.
Okay. So we have a motion for it to add, read that again, please?
Homeschool, parochial schools, alternative schools, academies.
For Medina County
and
residents.
hospitals.
I said that first.
For Medina
She said
residents.
that.
Oh,
We include Black River too.
Yeah,
Any of the feeder districts.
she said.
Residents of
I
Medina.
left everything the same as the top, like River Brunswick, Buckeye, Cloverleaf, Highland, Medina, Wadsworth. I added parochial, home schools, alternative schools and academies.
And then do we want to add a line,
Students residing.
priority will be
You can't say
given?
residing on Medina County, some of our case stuff.
Right, I get that, I get the feeder schools. And they live in a feeder school district.
Yeah, school districts listed.
Okay, all right, now, so we have a change in the motion, by Mr. Steiger, seconded by Mr. Huska. You second his motion to make these additions?
What did you say about Wadsworth?
I don't know, I didn't do anything.
Basically,
Is it added about priority will be given to?
that has to be added.
He's got a motion technically, if you want to do that, you would make a motion
Okay.
with your addendum. I don't need to be that person, but I think we need to at this point.
So we need a second on his, and then we can make a motion to address the
Okay.
Wadsworth issue. You'll second it as a system, we make a change.
I want to see a change.
You do want some change?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll second his motion, so then we'll need a motion on, I haven't gone on the roll for everybody for Wadsworth, but we'll need a motion on the table to deal with Wadsworth.
Need an amendment.
An amendment motion to deal with Wadsworth. So it'll be 2 hours.
So, to keep your life simple, you could vote on this amendment. Then there could be another amendment to the original motion.
They would have to make a motion to remove Wadsworth from the listing, is the way that, I don't think that.
If they wanted to remove
That's what
it
they want.
or to limit seats. So I would vote on this. one to keep it
So
simple.
we have a 1 and a 2 motion on the policy, or the amendment, and then we have 1, 2 on the amendment. So we need 2 votes.
I would do just
The
the
amendment.
amendment first.
Okay.
Yeah, so we
The other one, I would take
parochial,
votes.
homeschools, alternative schools, and
Okay,
academies.
so let's do the 1 and 2, but we have the 1 and 2, so can I have a vote on the amendment, please?
Mr. Steyer,
Yes.
Mr. Huska,
Yes.
Mrs. Dane,
Yes.
Mr. Gillingham, Mr. Nowak,
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard,
Yes.
Mrs. Pavlik,
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Kieran,
yes.
Mr. Hines.
Yes. Okay, so now is there any discussion of Wadsworth? Would anybody like to make a motion to deal with Wadsworth?
I would like to make a motion to amend, to add, or to move Wadsworth down to the homeschool parochial level, and as well as stating priority will be given to the feeder schools. I would want to word that.
Wadsworth would just be up to empty seats.
Right, if seats were available.
I don't know if you want to put Wadsworth, and then you might want to do the Medina County schools that are not part of the feeder program, as opposed to naming them as.
That's the only one.
That's the only one.
So we have a motion from Ms. Pavlik to make Wadsworth on the list but they take backseat to all of our feeder school districts first.
Without using backseat, can we?
Backseat,
Kind of
yeah.
verbalization, I would just
Yeah.
say, any of our feeder districts would receive priority status.
Yes.
Better than-
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm just trying to.
I'll second
I know.
I've been around this.
Okay, so we have a second on that now on the table. So now I have a second. Now, any comment or questions about that alternative amendment? Because we have to have a discussion. Mr. Stigley, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just going to speak in stark contrast to that. The city of Wadsworth, back in the 70s, there's any of us that were around Medina County and the Career Center when it started, there was a reason why Wadsworth chose not to participate. So I give credit to the superintendent at the time. This was not a good place. It was the joint, it was,
I went here when it was the joint. Wait a
but,
I survived. I became successful. Yes.
but it was not a good place. And the
I know.
superintendent of Wadsworth Schools at that time, I'm sure when they formed their cohort with the other schools, took that into consideration. To punish now Dr. Hill and Andy Hill and the students of Wadsworth, when they participate in everything else in Medina County, all of the other agreements and cohorts, even on a lot of levels, Wadsworth fully participates in. They made that decision then. I'm sure they've stayed to offer support to those other school districts because they made a commitment. They do send some students here. They do pay into the tax base in Medina County. Their businesses collect sales tax that benefits us. And that money's used not only to support their school system and that cohort that they have, but also other activities within Medina County. From roads and highways to infrastructure. And to say to those students, well, you went to Wadsworth, I think, I guess I've grown up with it, catch more flies with honey.
Okay. All right.
So if we ever wanted to have them change from that, I think this puts more of a wall up than it does take a wall down.
Okay, you definitely are winning me over, and I guess I go back to that old phrase, don't punish the children for the sins of the parents. So don't punish Andy and, what's that?
Actually, the grandparents.
The grandparents, yes. So don't punish Andy and his administration and those kids. So I get it. I totally get where you're coming from, and you won me over.
For example, you only have to go back one superintendent at Wadsworth Rice, who's now at Sandridge, heavily involved in the Career Center. And that
This is
was,
our number one placement for students with disabilities.
and that he was one generation back to superintendent of Wadsworth and now heavily involved. Offers a lot of
Huge.
Can we
All
put
right,
that
so-
down to,
So.
do something with that? I'm kind of lost where we're at.
So right now, we have a motion on the table
We have
to,
a motion.
deal with seven. Wadsworth has a special treatment of Wadsworth, but
Okay, I
when
will-
Valley has the floor, you can pull back your motion.
I am going to pull that
Withdraw.
motion. I'm
You're allowed
going to
motion?
withdraw.
You're allowed to do that,
That
it's
was-
no longer on the table.
Jeannie, what,
But Jeannie,
What was
you
your-
can,
Did I second?
no, it was.
but you brought the initial issue, that's what.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I mean,
I just was
Wadsworth at
wondering.
any time could join us, and I'm sorry, but whatever sales tax they create is not enough for them to come for the people of the feeder schools to make up for it, so, I mean, if it passes, fine, but I'm not voting for it.
Yeah, so the point is, if she makes the motion,
Wadsworth to join it?
No, that's not even been
So
considered.
we have,
Do
so
we
we have
need,
no.
one more question,
Sure.
so, but do we need to address that? And my computer's running low, so we better wrap this up. No, I'm just teasing. Do we need to address that, the feeder schools get priority over the homeschool parochial or anything? Or are we gonna
do
treat
you think
everybody?
maybe we should table this and
We need to,
wait?
no, we have to move forward because they're gonna start marketing and sending out
Okay.
notifications to families as far as graduation. The plan's gonna be is we're gonna send out congratulations on your graduation card, come back to the career center.
All right, so
We're
all
not-
I know is right now, Jeannie says the chief wants Wadsworth only to be a seat if there's an open seat. That's what she feels.
so there's a motion on the table. She could-
No, there's no motion on the table now. There's no motion.
I would.
So my choices right now, Rich, is Jeannie can make a motion, or we take a vote, because there's no motion on the table right now. And then she would need a second on her motion to stop Wadsworth. You going to make a motion?
I don't have a motion on, the original motion. So, don't we have an original motion on the floor?
We have an amended motion by Mr. Stiver, who started the motion.
To add.
Yeah, but we already voted on that.
Yes.
So if we call for the question right now,
So we don't vote
it
yet.
is- if we call for the question now, it is as written to include parochial homeschools, alternative schools and academies.
We've already voted for that.
But I think we wanted to add.
Now we have to vote for the amended
Wadsworth?
motion in totality. That's the only thing on the floor right now, is that?
But did we want to add in the whole, the fee district stuff?
No, I think we're good with that now.
We don't need to put that in there? Okay.
I think we're good with that.
Why is, look, this is like totally new for us, and we're going down chartered water here. I think we, but the purpose of the time, we can tweak it as we go along. I think we're not gonna have 200 kids. I don't think we have 200 kids showing up in September from school at night. It'll be a slow rollout, and we'll count on our adult ed director to come to us and say, this is like not getting out of hand, we need some help here, we need to adjust it. The whole idea is to get students, we start with our mission statement every meeting, why we're here and the purpose we're here. And lastly, these people who graduate from the HVAC program or the law enforcement program, if they live here, even if they're from Wadsworth, they're gonna pay income tax in Medina County eventually to the cities, and they're gonna spend money here, and there's dollars, we're gonna have people making some good money. So it's kind of our mission. We read that every time we start a meeting, we talk about our mission. This is a healthy conversation, don't get me wrong, this is a very healthy conversation. We've got, the reason we want to move forward is because they've already got a plan what they want to work for to get this out for next year. I mean, we're ready to roll.
I'm just saying, I don't know, should I make a motion that we include Wadsworth and Jeannie can vote no, and all the people can vote no who want to vote no, or do we, I don't know how we get this through.
So the only motion we have right now is the addendum that Mr. Schneider put out.
It's the original motion, the original document as amended to include parochial homeschools, alternative schools, and academies. It's the original document as it stands. I made a motion to amend it to add those, that amendment passed. So it's the original document with those additions. This was-
Read the original.
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
Well, it's not, doesn't say that in there.
Well, they have to be from our, well, yeah.
I mean, you gotta say, I mean, you could have someone from
Well,
Parma.
we talked about not living in there, but attending the schools. They have to be within those school districts.
Well, it says a graduate of the following school districts.
Yes, so it has to
Graduate
be.
support. So, you can graduate from your school district and move 10 minutes up the road, but you're still a graduate of Highland, and your family paid taxes here to be here. So I don't want to get into the weeds that you're living over in Strongsville now. We're talking about the graduates of our home schools.
But when you talk about the parochials and everything else, they could actually come from outside the county and go to a parochial school. So I think you do need to do something in that they must be Medina County graduate or resident. And then I still say, putting butts in the seats, and no matter how many schools are involved, there's still going to be a policy and a procedure to put the most qualified into those seats. And so I think the only thing that we need to do is make sure that they're a Medina County resident.
Of the parochial schools
And everything else, yeah. And then another thing is I'll say in '74, when they opened this, and the Hill said, we're not joining, I tried to be here to join, and I'm a pretty damn good person. And I think that's something saying the joint vocational, it wasn't like the joint like a reefer. So I take offense to that. And there's a lot of great students that came to this school, graduated from this school, and what we are today is the foundation that those 74 kids started by being here. And yet they were allowed to smoke here on campus, but it only lasted like 2 years because they realized in a hurry, this was an educational facility. It wasn't the alternative school where you had sheriffs and everyone else keeping people in their seats. This was a place where they educated them and the foundation.
If I offended you, I apologize for that, but I think we would have to agree that at that era of time, it did not have the greatest of reputations. And in fact, some counselors at high schools at that time argued against coming. Now, are we at that place now? No, we're not, thankfully. But I think that probably weighed into that discussion I wasn't privy to those discussions, but they went that direction. We also have to be careful about adding in the word Medina County residents. A good portion of the children and the kids that graduate from Black River don't live in Medina County. So I don't want to end up on a list like Wadsworth simply because they're an Ashland or Lorraine County resident.
Yeah, but
Black River.
Black River's a feeder school, so they get kind of president or whatever, because they're a feeder school.
But so is a homeschool, so could a parochial school be, right?
It just says it says here they have to be a graduate of one of the following school districts. So now, all these school districts, along with what you added, they're a graduate.
If so correct me if I'm wrong, if I went to a parochial school, I went to St. Ambrose, or I went to Padua, and I decided my junior and senior year to enroll at the Career Center, I could do that.
We actually have kids from Medina Christian Academy attending here right now. And to St. Ambrose, they stop at the 8th grade. But the only one you really look at is Medina Christian Academy.
What are the parochial schools that I can graduate from in Medina County? It's just
Medina
Medina Christian,
That's the
right?
only one currently used.
There isn't one in Wadsworth, right? Because I think that's.
There's theoretically, depending on what they do with that STEM school that they just, well, Hinckley Elementary, depending on what they do there, but I think that's still something elementary there. Can I offer an opinion on something, just so we can bring some closure, maybe, hopefully? You've got a really good, I think you've got a really good basis. Proceed until apprehended. Let us see what this does, and if it creates no crap for us, I'm sorry to put it that way, then Janice and I will reconvene with the board and say, we've got 100 Wadsworth kids and nobody from any of our feeder districts. If we come across the, oh crap, we can always reconvene.
I said back seat, and you say, oh crap.
I want to say something. I want to say something.
So I'm speaking to the treasurer who keeps track of all this. He is telling me that we do not have anything to vote on right now because we approved the amended motion that Mr. Steiger made. This is what he's telling us about his records.
We approved the amendment to the motion. We did not approve the motion itself.
The motion, yes.
So you have to approve the totality, is what he's saying. So you've approved the amendment, now you have to approve the totality.
Steiger
I'm
and-
going
Okay.
Okay, so, anybody have any questions about some of the other parameters we have in here that they have to do a proper withdrawal? They can be here, come here at 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, as long as they finish and they do a proper withdrawal, they can take 6 classes if they want. And they need to see the academic record to fill out any grant money that we can claw back as part of the program, correct? FAFSA?
Yeah,
Okay,
that will be a requirement, both part-time and full-time.
okay. And,
Dennis, I have one comment. So if I seem salty and I offend somebody, I apologize. I am adamant about this and passionate about this topic, and at the end of the day, what I ask myself is, what's the worst case scenario here? We educate a lot of people and fill up our rooms. What a great problem to have. If this goes horribly wrong, and they're having to push the doors closed to keep everybody in because there's not enough seats, amen. What a great problem to have. We suddenly educate a lot of people in our technical training center. I'm in.
we're gonna end up being,
Amen.
doing this will be the leadership for the state of Ohio because nobody else is doing it. And I think hopefully people will come to us and say, what are you guys doing up there? And just pulling it up, so.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Why does it say tuition only will be paid by the Medina County Board of Education? Where did they come from?
The Board of Education would technically be, you are over the general fund, and so if he was to transfer any money from the general fund into adult ed for that programming to take place, that the money at the school is technically the Board of Education money. And so that would
Medina
be-
County Board of Education?
Should say
That's
So
what
Medina County Career Center, oh, I get what you're saying. No,
Medina County Career Center, it's missing career
It's
center.
the other Career Center.
Gotcha. There you
You
go.
see that?
Okay, you got it.
Never mind, she's already.
Yep,
she's already-
she's on it.
Okay, because that's what I asked, why didn't it have Medina County Board? I don't know where
I
it
missed
was
that.
from. Well, that's okay.
That was wrong. For clarity,
Okay.
Just so everybody's clear on what we talked about, I just want to make sure there is clarity here on this. This includes at the top of that, the name change from Adult Education Medina County Career Center, Ohio Technical Centers. So it will no longer be Adult Education.
This is, Rich, is part of the rebranding, why we want to get this out, because we're changing, we're not going to be all that.
Perfect.
All right, do I have any more questions? We've already had a motion, we've already voted on it, so there's really nothing else we have to do, there's no more additional motions to be made.
Yeah, one for the encompassing.
Yes.
No,
We have to
Oh,
back
we need another
up
vote?
to.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, totality. In totality.
Take it up to the top of the left.
Right, there we go.
Thank you, Dr.
Just
Dave.
say call.
Go, please.
Mr. Stoddard?
Yes.
Mr. Ruska?
Yes.
Mrs. Dane?
Yes.
Mr. Gillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Noel?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
No.
Mrs. Pavlik?
Yes.
Mr. Kieran?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mr. Metz?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you got your work cut out for you. Thank you. Okay, so now we move on to,
And
is it N or M? Yeah, I'm sorry, N.
personnel.
Yes. N.
Personal.
We don't have that.
That's not, yeah, they don't know, just-
N, yeah. N.
Personnel, yes.
Okay, may I have a motion for, that's actually, N.
I'll make a motion.
Val makes a motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Gene. Questions or comments about that, and who would you like to comment? Thank you, Val.
So it's probably, I know that we have approved, very similar, contracts, throughout the course of my tenure here. But I was wondering and wanted to ask for my board members' opinions as far as, without the dollar amounts, I had to go back and ask Aaron, so what is this impact for dollar amount? I mean, what is the difference between a class one, was a class one, and is now a class 6? And this actually pertained to more of those reclassifications, but that's okay, we already approved that one. But when somebody goes from a class 1, step 13, to a class 2, step 14, how does that affect our dollar amounts? We're approving these and we don't know what impact it is. Is it an additional dollar?
But it's a union, this is union.
It was. This came up about 7, 8, 9 years ago with the union. They did not want their dollar values, although you can go in and see anybody's contract by public law. They requested their dollars not to be seen, and at that point, the board made a universal decision to not include it. Clearly, anybody can say they can call the treasurer's office and say what's a class 1, step 6. But the board started with the union, and then the board unilaterally said they did not want the payments in there. We put the numbers in there with the students because they move a little bit and how many years they've been. That's the only ones we did. It was a decision of the board to take it out probably 6 years ago. And I looked across the board and I see almost nobody includes dollar figures in any of that anymore.
Okay.
I don't know anybody that does.
Okay, all right, well, that helps to understand the history behind it. But when we offer an initial contract, like I'm seeing here now, in the past, Medina utilized the administrative content to actually attach that contract so that all board members could see what it is that we're approving. No offense, Mr. Knapp, but what is the salary? What are we bringing him in on? What is the ratio 1.6? I mean, without having the decoder ring and being able to go back. Yes, yes.
I can from now on, executive content state what that actual number, because when, like, I'll give you an example, like when Janice sends something over to me, she sends 2 documents. She says, employee employees contract and employee without pay and an employee's contract with pay. And in executive content, I'd be willing to put the with pay documents in there every time.
I think that would be very helpful, because right now,
That's
I'm
easy.
being asked to approve a contract that I have no idea what it says. So,
Well, the administrative compensation plan was approved last year, so it's just a step in class it's not even something I get to choose, it's plugging in the exact numbers. I can, from now on, include those numbers.
Based on his experience at the
Yeah.
school.
yes, that would be great, thank you.
That's easy to do.
Okay, that was
So we don't
probably
really have a
my,
choice.
No, you don't have a choice.
Any other questions for the letter N? So the only other thing on there is the 10-10 rates. We approved $10 an hour last year, but that'll wait. No, it's minimum Ohio minimum wage is on 10-10. That's why we go ahead and raise that when we Ohio wise.
Correct.
Okay.
I might, quite frankly, be coming to the board after this summer and asking for the student rate to go higher because they're getting $14 to $17 everywhere. So don't be surprised if I come back later at the end of the summer and ask for that to be something significantly higher.
Yeah, but if I don't have any more questions for the letter N, as in Nancy, or commentary, I'm going to roll call, Mr. Gillingham.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Mrs. Pavlik,
I,
Ms. Pritchard,
Aye.
Mrs. Dane,
Aye.
Mr. Gillingham,
Aye.
Mr. Huska.
Aye.
Mr. Noah,
Aye.
Mr. Kieran,
Aye.
Mr. Stiver,
Nick?
Mr. Mattson.
Aye. Okay, got it. Okay, the last one will be number 11, board member comments. Anybody have any comments from the board?
I just have one. 2 past board members of the Career Center, Virginia Gentleman, known affectionately in Medina as the tree lady, because she planted about every tree in Medina, and she served on this board, and former board member Warren Wheeler, both have passed away, and I told Stephen and that when I was out here, but just so the board knows, and it's been noted in the OSBA brochure that comes out, but that's the only comments I have, just so you know, if you work with them.
How long were they on the board?
Virginia was about 12 years, and Warren, I think, was 7. So, yeah.
Any comments for that? For June's comment? You can maybe someday when you walk up on the thing on the hall someplace. Some recognition. Anybody else? The only thing I have is, because we're not going to executive session unless somebody has a need. I need anybody that has not given me or Tina evals.
okay, I would like to have a brief executive session.
Sure. Okay. For matters of personnel?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody else have any more comments? Okay, so I'm going to need a motion to go into executive session for matters of employment, personnel. The West Board of Education may hold an executive session only after a majority of the floor of the board determines that by roll call. So I would need a motion for that, and it is now 8:42. We have a motion, Val, second, Huska. Roll call.
Mrs. Pavlik,
I,
Mr. Huska. Mrs. Dane, Mr. Gillingham,
Aye.
Commissioner Noah,
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard,
Aye.
Mr. Kieran,
Aye.
Mr. Stiver,
Aye.
Mr. Mattson.
Aye. Ms. Pavlik, besides board members, do you need any staff to be here?
no.
Okay. Treasurer program for the honor of. Put an extra 5 minutes, pay.